Hello, today we're going to be focusing on KI3, which deals with sacred spaces and pilgrimage, which are two key components of religion for most of the largest world religions. Let's first talk about sacred space. Sacred space is very significant and has a lot of meaning for people that are devoted to a specific religion. Sacred space is found often in the landscape. It could be something as elaborate as a religious structure or a place of worship, or it could be something as personal and as important to an individual, such as a sacred space within their home. For example, a place where an individual may go to perform a prayer. When we look at sacred space, we have to understand that depending on a religion, whether universalizing or ethnic, again, seeing the evidence of these sacred spaces could be found throughout the world depending on which religion. In the case of Christianity, as we know, is the most widespread religion in the world, you can imagine that sacred spaces will be found throughout the world within specific countries or cities where people have created that sacred space so that they can feel closer to their faith. In the case of ethnic religions, it's going to be something more remote, found in smaller places, in less places, and very specific to that ethnic group of people, and therefore not found throughout the world. Regardless of what religion and where in the world it's found, sacred spaces are typically very important to the people of that religion. Some places of worship in universalizing religions are known as the church, basilica, a mosque, a temple, pagoda, synagogue. These are names that you're probably familiar with, that you can identify with certain religions. These could be places where they house shrines, things that are important, relics or artifacts, things that are important to that religion. Or these places could also be places for people to come together and assemble and worship. Some of these sacred spaces are very modest, whereas some could be very elaborate and very obvious to the eye when you're in that space. An ethnic religion typically has a lot less widespread distribution than universalizing religions do. And another thing with ethnic religions is that sometimes a sacred space is not an actual structure or a building or something that can be constructed. For ethnic religions, some of the sacred spaces could be found in a physical environment, such as where the religion originated, or a mountain, or a river, or a rock, or something that was very important to the founder, or that represents the beginnings of that religion. And for universalizing religions, there are these holy places or cities that are associated with the founder, the life of the founder, the place of where the religion started. Let's go ahead and talk about Jerusalem, which is a sacred space for millions of people. It is a sacred space that contains importance historically, religiously, to Christians, Jews, and Muslims that are very close in proximity and often cases overlapping. We will talk a little bit more about religious conflict and how sacred spaces especially in this particular example, could sometimes cause conflict over the sacredness of the space. Jerusalem is a very unique place on earth that represents an important place for all three religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The old city within Jerusalem is surrounded by a wall, and within the old city, which you will see an image of, it is internally partitioned or otherwise divided into 4 quarters, mainly along religious lines. Again, there could be some overlapping, but when you see the image of the old city, you can see a pretty clear division within 4 areas that represent the different religions. You have the Christian quarter, which holds importance to Christians, the Muslim quarter, which obviously houses sacred spaces within for Muslims, the Jewish quarter, very important space within the old city for the Jewish people, as well as the Armenian quarter, which represents the Armenian church and the Armenian Christians. The first example is why this area is contested, because for the Muslims, which again you'll see the picture in the image, they believe the Dome of the Rock marks the site from which Muhammad ascended to heaven. We've already learned that Muhammad was the founder of Islam, and in the old city there's the Dome of the Rock, which again they believe is where their founder ascended to heaven. It is the third holiest and most important sacred site for Islam, following Mecca as being the first, where it was founded, and Medina. So therefore, Jerusalem is also an important sacred site for Muslims. Jerusalem is especially holy for Jews. It is where the temple, which is the center of their worship, is located. And all of these things that I'm talking about obviously date back to very early ancient or historical times. The first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians. A second temple that was also built was destroyed by the Romans. What remains in the old city is the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall, which is a place of gathering and prayer for Jewish people that go there from all parts of the world. And as for Christians, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is very important, as it is a place or a site that marks the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, which you will again see an image. We will talk more about Jerusalem, its importance to these 3 religions, and it being a contested area when we come back from break and we look a little bit closer at this particular topic. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is a journey that people take to a sacred place. So some of these places I've already talked about, Jerusalem, or places that are of importance to ethnic religions that may be part of the natural environment, and other places throughout the world. For example, for Christians, it could be visiting, or specifically Catholics, visiting the Vatican City, or it could be going to India, where Buddhism originated, or it could be the Ganges River in India, which is important to Hindu people. So depending on the religion, depending on where the sacred space is. A pilgrimage is a journey that people take to that sacred place. Some pilgrimages, such as the Hajj for Muslims, is obligated, whereas for other religions, it is voluntary. You can choose to go. You're not required to go. Pilgrims conduct these journeys to sacred spaces for a variety of reasons. It could be to purify your soul, or to demonstrate devotion to your religion, maybe to fulfill a vow that you've made. Or it could be that you just want to be closer to that place that you hold so close to your life and your culture that associates with your religion. Or maybe to give thanks, or maybe in hopes to have some sort of a miracle come from that pilgrimage. All these specific reasons vary from one religion to another, and even from one person to another. Major destinations can be distinguished from minor destinations on the basis of their holiness, the number of pilgrims that these places have attracted. The pilgrimage varies in the different Christian traditions. In general, pilgrimage is virtually absent in Protestant, and you won't see that many Christian Protestants will go on a pilgrimage to any holy place. Whereas maybe some other Christians, Armenian Christians or Catholics, may set out for a trip particularly to the Holy Land of Jerusalem as a place of importance, or again, Rome, Italy. Buddhism does not require that adherents go on a pilgrimage, but the religion has still developed a tradition of pilgrimage. Major destinations are concentrated in a hearth area and are associated with significant events in Buddha's life. Places of his birthplace, his enlightenment, his first sermon, and his death. These pilgrims pray and meditate at the Bodhi tree where Siddhartha attained enlightenment, and this is found in India. Among Hindus, the Ganges River is revered for its energy and for its ability to sustain life and remove negative karma. A number of important pilgrimage sites have developed in close proximity to or along the banks of this river that are important to people of the Hindu religion. Hindus believe that they achieve purification by bathing in the holy rivers. The Ganges is the holiest river in India because it is supposed to spring forth from the hair of Shiva, one of their main deities. Indians come from all over the country to these important locations that are a part of the natural environment. In your book, you will find many pictures and visuals of these sacred spaces that were discussed in this video, along with some images that are going to be in this video lecture in the background. You may pause to look at these images. Please be sure to read this section, Key Issue 3, in your book very carefully. And please bring any questions that you may have to class. And that will be the end of Key Issue 3 lecture.